We're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin today, joined on the show by Raj Chipalu, and I'm going to warn you, this is the most fired up I have ever seen Raj. Like he was screaming at people on All Access Lakers. I loved every second of it. I'm mostly just going to get out of the way because usually it's me yelling at everybody, and I feel like this will be a nice change. You know what? I'm going to try to be the optimist. I'm going to play the devil. Everybody needs. What's your line, Raj?
Everyone, everyone deserves an advocate. That's what I'm saying. Everyone deserves
Even
one.
Darvin Ham?
Yes.
Do you think Darvin needs
Even
one? Do you
even
think he,
Darvin. Yes.
yeah?
Everyone deserves one.
What would the devil say on behalf of Darvin Ham?
I don't know. I haven't really spoke to the devil at all.
Like even the devil would be like, yeah, he should probably go.
Me and the devil don't have many conversations.
The Lakers lose this one 124-108 in Chicago. It is the fourth straight. No, it was Dallas, 2 against San Antonio, New York.
Third straight loss.
Third straight loss, fifth straight kind of listless performance, right? These were all winnable games, right? Dallas was playing on the second night of a back-to-back without Kyrie Irving. The San Antonio Spurs are the San Antonio Spurs. The New York Knicks had played 4 games in 6 nights and had been in LA for like the entirety of a weekend. And then the Chicago Bulls have been the Chicago Bulls this year. This is a team that everybody thought was going to be tanking this year. And, the Lakers go through the stretch of what felt like winnable games on the other side of the in-season tournament and have completely fallen on their faces. They have completely ditched any semblance of the type of basketball that we fell in love with during that in-season tournament, for reasons unknown, to be completely honest. Aaron and I try to explain it, not excuse it, but explain it. And the Lakers just look like a completely different team. And Raj, you made the point, and I think this is the place to start. This is the question that I think every Lakers fan is kind of asking themselves: who looks like they give a fuck out there?
Right.
Like LeBron's putting up the numbers, but it almost looks like the way, and this isn't a knock per se, but like it looks like LeBron looks right now, he's carrying himself in the same way right now as he was when he was waiting for Russell Westbrook to be traded. Anthony Davis is trying his ass off on defense, but even he is resorted to shooting jumpers and stuff and moved away from the paint, and that shot diet is completely out of whack. So outside of those guys, who's lighting the fire under these guys? Because it's not Ham. He doesn't criticize anybody. So where's it coming from? And if they don't care, why should we?
Yeah, that's the part that's super frustrating. Like, Anthony, you remember in school when you don't have to put yourself into this, but when a student, doesn't really do well in school and then they do well on that one test and the teacher's like, oh, now that I see you can do this, I'm going to hold you to that standard. Right. And I'm not saying that the Lakers have to play at this standard, but my problem is we just saw it 2 weeks ago. The IST, I believe, was 2 weeks ago. That whole tournament, people can laugh at it, but that was serious basketball. That was with serious basketball teams. They really wanted to win. Like, there was a $500,000 grand prize at the end, but whatever. These guys make a ton of money, and maybe that was a little bit more of a motivating factor. But there were real basketball stuff that I saw, Anthony. If you go rewatch that Pelicans game, they had Zion healthy. They had Brandon Ingram healthy. They had CJ McCollum healthy. That's a team that believes they can do something this season. They just got their wing back, Trey Murphy. They just got him back as well. And we shut them off. We won that game by 40 points. Absolutely clowning them.
I compared them to a deer getting eaten by a Komodo dragon. You were here with me. The face that you made has not left my eyes. I can still picture you sitting there and squirming in your chair at the thought of Bambi getting ripped apart by a monster lizard.
Yeah. And so the most upsetting part to me, Anthony, because you know this, because you know me, I hate trade talk. I hate trade SZN as people spell it out. They don't even like to spell out the season. They just put trade SZN, and it gives them the license to just go and put any trade they want in the universe. The Athletic,
It's
which I
me.
think,
For everybody who's
yeah.
wondering, Raj is talking
I
directly
mean, I haven't
about
really,
and to
yeah,
me.
no.
So
I don't filter your trade, so that's more of Aaron's job. But look, smartly, the Athletic came out today, right, with the report of the Lakers would be interested in Zach LaVine, which makes sense. The Lakers and Bulls are playing, but D'Angelo Russell again struggled mightily. Had like 2 points tonight in 28 minutes. And to me, I think the most upsetting thing is the IST could have been a real place to springboard, right? To gain
yeah.
momentum. We had a tough start, a lot of injuries. Your guys are finally healthy, and I gave them some rope, some grace, right? Which is shocking, not shocking because I'm a guy that does that a lot, but like I give a lot of grace, right? Even
Yeah.
LeBron and the Lakers are lucky that the Detroit Pistons are so terrible. We let the Spurs end an 18-game losing streak, and we just threw that under the table. Like, oh, we didn't have Cam. LeBron's excuse was we didn't have Cam Reddish. We didn't have D'Angelo Russell. We didn't have our wings. Your wings were Cam Reddish in that game. Like there was no AD, but your wing was Cam Reddish. I even slid that under the rug. Even the New York game, Knicks are tough. Julius Randle plays us really well. Jalen Brunson is a tough guard for us. Like he gives us trouble when he plays us. I'll even as bad as that loss was, okay. But this one, to me, I tweeted out before the game, this was a must win. There was no excuses. And we were down 18 in like the first few minutes. There was no defensive communication. Guys were getting wide open shots. And we talk about this a lot. As bad as shooters are, as bad as their percentages are, and they're not. Chicago has a bunch of guys playing well. Javon Carter is shooting 41% for three. We let him walk into threes. Kobe White is on a tear. He's averaging 21 or something a game. He walked into threes. And we allowed them to get hot. DeRozan got to really relax and walk his way through the game. And I don't understand the process of what went on in those two. Like, did they think these ones don't matter? Like that's the part that I don't understand. These ones still matter a lot. The whole point of this whole summer, and again, I'm getting upset, so I'll calm down here. But like the whole point of
go Raj,
the
go.
and the whole point of this summer and getting a training camp. And what pisses me off about the trade season is we just committed to these guys, all of them. Rui got a 4-year deal. Jared Vanderbilt got a 4-year deal. Gabe Vincent got a 3-year deal. Austin Reeves got a 4-year deal. Christian Wood even gets a 2-year deal. D'Angelo Russell gets a 2-year deal. As much as people want to throw him into every trade, he's on a 2-year deal. He could be here next year if he chooses to, which it looks like it won't be. But anyway, like that was
It's not his choice. Hold on.
He has a player option.
Yeah, but
I'm
like
saying
that's a player option to the team that he's on at the end of the
in
season, not
in
to
my
the Lakers.
universe where everything is hunky dory and we're winning. D'Angelo Russell is on the team, right? If we're winning and he's on the team, he has a decision this summer if he's kept. In any case, this is a team 10 minutes ago we just committed to this roster, and everyone was like, trade everyone. We don't have the roster, or no, we need to get better here and here. There are holes in every roster. There are decisions to be made. There are rotations that have to be figured out. That's the problem. It's a good problem, right? Quote unquote, good problem to have depth. It's also a problem. It's still an issue that you have to solve. And
with this coach, it's especially a problem because he sees the game a certain way. And we're going to talk about the ideologies here in a second. But
for sure, we'll get.
Here's where my problem is. And this dates back further than the in-season tournament. This dates back to last year. This is basically the LeBron era in a nutshell in the regular season. And it is a bit a LeBron problem. But it isn't like he isn't the problem, but it is a like indirect a LeBron problem where LeBron at this stage of his career understands that the regular season is all about getting reps for certain things and trying to be healthy and in the right position come time to play in the postseason, right? And if LeBron is setting your tone organizationally or across this roster, and that's how he approaches the regular season, guess how everybody else is going to approach the regular season. And I have called this team, and I understand that this is a weighted term, and I understand I don't use this term lightly when I use it. I completely understand that historically speaking, this is not a term that you want to use about professional athletes, especially black ones, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into this term. But I've called this team a very entitled bunch. It is a very spoiled bunch of guys, and they came into this season. You talked about the continuity. We've reached a point here, Raj, where it's pretty clear that the continuity is actually hurting the Lakers in that they came into this year coming off of last year's run thinking that, well, all we need to do is bring everybody back and we're all going to hit the ground running and we're all going to be so much better because we've had so much more time together. without
Sure.
thinking that work goes into building on what they had last year. This was insane to me as a Lakers fan I'm 37 years old. This was insane to me that coming off of being swept in the Western Conference Finals, people were high-fiving each other for keeping the core of a team that got swept in the Western Conference Finals together. That's crazy. For the entirety of my lifetime, if a team got swept in the Western Conference Finals, we would be like, all right, we need to, clearly stuff needs to change so that doesn't happen again, right? And that was so wild to me that it was just like, yeah, it was okay, sure. And then like when I even pointed out, hey, yeah, it'd be nice to give ourselves some more options just in case this roster ain't it, because this roster ain't it, man. Like they don't have anybody who pierces the defense. Darvin Ham doesn't want to play all the wings necessary to optimize this roster as it currently exists. The backup center spot is a freaking disaster. You have Jackson Hayes, who's supposed to be your rim protector. He's allergic to contact. And Christian Wood is just supposed to be your floor spacer, and he shoots worse. I don't know. He's shooting knuckleballs. I don't know where the ball's going when he
can't
shoots
shoot.
He doesn't. He doesn't know. He's shooting 60% from the free throw line. That guy's supposed to be the shooting backup center. And so, like, you're telling me all of this stuff is going on. And, like, the Lakers at this point, we talked on All Access Lakers Tonight, which, by the way, playback.tv/All Access Lakers is where you can watch games with me, Raj, Shub, Rome, and Aaron, and whoever else is there as well. Make an account, all that's good stuff. But you and I talked a lot today about like Gabe Vincent and the notion of data samples and how most of his career he has been one type of player, and then last year in the postseason he was a different kind of player, especially from 3-point range. The Lakers, right? This season, the larger sample size indicates that they aren't a very good team, right? They've played 7 good games where they raced through the in-season tournament, and they are now 7-12 in non-in-season tournament games. So you have 7 great games against some people are considering them lesser talent, right? You have a broken Suns team. You have a Pelicans team that is not very serious, I don't think. You have a Pacers team that can't stop them nosebleed, right? Those are the things that I've been told coming out of the in-season tournament. It's funny how those things get mentioned after the Lakers beat them, but whatever. That is how some people see the teams that the Lakers went through on their way as they race through the in-season tournament. They have played 19 games in which they have not looked good. They've had a bottom third offense. They have a defense that comes and goes depending on whether or not Anthony Davis is on the court. They have a coach who doesn't understand how timeouts or challenges work. They have it's just they have a coach who would prefer, even while his team is screaming at him, play all the wings, play the bigger guys, get more size on the perimeter. Even as the team is screaming at him to do that, he's like, no, actually, let's make sure that we have 2 of Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Gabe Vincent on the court at all times. At what point do we just acknowledge this is a flawed bunch? This might not be as good a team as we thought they might be.
I mean, you can get to that point for sure. And like, I just want to clear something. Depth, Anthony, and I think most people get this confused because I see it online. Depth is not you have 12 players playing well. That's not what depth is. Depth is you have 3
options.
or 4. Yeah, you have 3 or 4 guys playing well, and you're able to choose from those guys. Hey, Gabe Vincent's having an off night. Austin and D'Lo can play well, right? Or like back and forth. Like either of those guys can swap. And to me, that's the issue right now. None of those guys are playing well, and Darvin Ham is searching and trying to find. And I think both of us still, even with the start, even with the injuries, we were like, okay, let's wait and judge this team. # wait to judge this team. But like you wait to judge this team until Vando gets back.
Till Trevor Ariza is back?
Yeah, but Vando comes back, and the Lakers are awesome defensively. Those guys play amazing together. Vando and AD have awesome defensive chemistry. To me, the biggest issue and like the loudest part of this team is D'Angelo Russell dropping from a 10 to 15 solid guard to a guy who's giving you absolutely nothing every night. And this has a domino effect to me.
He played 28 minutes tonight. He had 2 points, 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3-point range. He had 1 rebound, 2 assists, and 1 turnover.
Right, which is cardio for D'Angelo Russell. Just way too talented to like walk through a game. And tonight is a game, and just to dive into the basketball, because it's very easy to just be like, yeah, they don't care, they care. Chicago's a team that ran drop coverage all night. D'Angelo Russell was a guard that like He is built to pick on that coverage. The whole point of D'Lo is to be able to get around the screen, get a guy on his back, and shoot. Took none of those tonight. Everything was just, all right, let me shoot it. I guess I'll take it here. He's just not involved. And to me, Anthony, that has a domino effect in terms of you can't start Cam Reddish if like D'Lo's going to be nothing offensively, right? And he's giving you no
Yeah.
production. It's gotten to the point where LeBron is taking the ball to start games. That was D'Lo's time. Like LeBron used to stand in the corner. It was like, look, go ahead, D'Lo's, run your actions, run it with AD. That's stopped entirely. D'Lo is just running to the corner or to the wing and standing there and waiting for the ball. Maybe there's some off the court stuff that you talked about and reported in your last pods, but to me, that's the stuff I see. And you talked about LeBron's leadership, I believe here and on All Access Lakers. Just to push back on that, Anthony Davis just got a 3-year, $186 million extension. He's getting $62 million a year. Like that, another, I'm going to use this word again. They just committed to Anthony Davis as their franchise guy. I'm putting some of that on him as well. Like there's a leadership that's lacking, and I can't just point at Darvin. Yeah, there's a void. Like I can't just point at Darvin either for that. Like Frank Vogel wasn't that guy for that team either. Wasn't really the like a loud voice in every room that he was in either. I think like that's a lot on your stars as well. That's part of being paid the big bucks. It's not just averaging 20 or 25 or 30, right? Part of it is also, hey, like Jackson Hayes, you can't reach there. There's like you can't. And Jackson Hayes, if you remember to start the season, said, "Oh, I get to learn from Anthony Davis. I get to learn, from LeBron James." Christian Wood came in. I get to learn from the goats, like of at my position. Those guys aren't even in the rotation. We've gone to Rui at center lineups next to LeBron. Those lineups get killed.
No, there was a Rui at center lineup not next to LeBron tonight. That was the thing that happened.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, this team has to decide. And you can't like, we fall off so hard when Anthony Davis isn't on the floor defensively to almost where we just kind of concede. To me, that's what the zone is. We ran zone for 42 minutes against the Spurs the second game. To me, that was conceding. We can't stop the other team, which is nuts, which is insane for a team that has no point guard and is like 29th in offense. There's a lot of issues and a lot of problems with the team.
Well, but right exactly. Like the point that I was going to make coming off of what you were saying there is that like if you get your ass kicked by the San Antonio Spurs, it's a lot more than just one thing. I don't think Darvin is particularly good at his job. I think he's a great motivational leader. I think he's a great leader of men, but I think he's completely blind to the game of basketball. I think you have a leadership void there. I think one thing that the Lakers really miss, and you go back and you look at that championship team, right? And like LeBron said that it was a big part of that, how like Boogie would hold AD accountable and Boogie was a big voice in the locker room to like really, snap everybody back into place. You had Jared Dudley on that team, somebody who like when that team was broken apart, Jared Dudley was the person that LeBron tweeted about, not Alex Caruso, hilariously. Alex Caruso kicked the Lakers' ass tonight, by the way. Luxury taxes, though, right? Or THT, whichever decision makes you sleep better at night. But like I think when the Lakers are as listless as they have been outside of in-season tournament games, like a lot is going on, and some of it is on the court, some of it is coaching, some of it is leadership, some of it is off of the court, where I don't know how many times and how like more clearly I have to say it before it starts to like get traction out there. But there is legitimate tension here in the locker room between various guys, and D'Angelo Russell is now looking at the landscape and trying to figure out what real estate looks like in Chicago. Like it's a mess. The Lakers are a bit of a mess right now. And the Bulls are on a nice little run right now. Hilariously, once Zach LaVine sat, they went on this run, and that's the guy that's going to fix all this apparently. But Zach LaVine sits down, the Bulls go on this run. And even given that the Bulls are playing better basketball, the Lakers were never competitive in this one. Like they made runs to get back into it, but it was like a couple fake comebacks here and there. And by the end of the game, it was over midway through the fourth quarter. This is like if this game should have been over midway through the fourth quarter, it should have been going in the opposite direction, because the Lakers have a huge talent advantage here. And yet like that talent advantage gets squandered because the Lakers continue to treat regular season games as like scrimmages. They are intended to get guys reps. And if you can win during that process, cool. If not, whatever. And like, let's look at the minute allocation here tonight. So AD plays 38 minutes in a loss, which is just brutal, man.
Back
Like
to
that
back.
is so many minutes on the first night of a back-to-back. He tweaks his ankle in this one too. I don't know if he's going to be able to go tomorrow, but AD plays 38 minutes. LeBron plays 37. That is too many for both of those guys. Torian Prince plays 34 minutes. You have D'Angelo Russell in a night that, like you said earlier, was just getting cardio in. He had his Fitbit on and he was getting his steps in out there. He plays 28 minutes. Rui Hachimura only plays 16 minutes. Jared Vanderbilt, who before the game, or I don't know if it was right before the game, but when he was asked about like, hey, are you on a minutes restriction? He's like, I don't know. Like, that sounds great. That doesn't get more attention. The fact that this guy, like, who was a key part of your run to the Western Conference Finals last year, is just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play tonight. We'll see. Christian Wood gets 1 minute. Jackson Hayes gets 1 minute in garbage time. Max Christie, who was a big part of that swarming identity, he gets 1 minute in garbage time tonight.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves plays 28, which is fine. Gabe Vincent plays 14 or whatever. It's just that rotation screams to me of throwing shit at the wall and like, please, dear God, let something stick.
Yeah. And then on the Torian front, like every coach, I feel like Anthony has one spot or one veteran that they just overplay. It feels like obviously Frank Vogel was with Avery Bradley and Rondo to an extent. It feels like Torian's that guy, and it makes sense, right? I think like he's a shooter and he shot well recently. He's shooting like 40%.
Scott had Ronnie Price. Remember that?
Yeah,
That was
yes, Ronnie Price, who threw a shoe, I think, one time in live action at somebody. But the part that frustrates me is that the thing you just spoke about is the identity of this team was bigger, faster, being oppressive on the top. Max Christie was a big part of that. We were rebounding really well. He's an awesome guard rebounder. He had one bad game, which was the second night against the Spurs, which I could argue 8 other guys had bad games. Completely removed from the rotation. Did not play against the Knicks. Did not play tonight either. Obviously, Gabe Vincent came back on a minutes restriction. So Gabe Vincent played his 15 minutes. But to me, that's a concern as well. I really like Max in this rotation. And I said this before, our starting lineup, to me, like the only guy with motor is Cam Reddish. Like the only guy, and he's absolutely regressed to become like the whole team. I feel like Anthony is going through this pitfall where they're all falling together. Like usually you have guys not playing well in spurts. Cam Reddish has come back to, oh shoot, I got to average 15 a game this season. I'm a free agent. Like it looks like that. I'm not like saying that's for fact, but when I watch Cam Reddish play, there was a play
14 times tonight,
and like 4 of them were good shots. Like one of them tonight, we got an offensive rebound. I don't remember if he picked it or he shoots a 3, like 0 rhythm, just pops a 3, another 3 in transition, pull up. Like it's not you. That's not why you've been and this is what I mean by the like just unseriousness of it all. Jared Vanderbilt took 2 threes in his like whatever minutes he played. And I don't know 13. Exactly how many 13 minutes. He took 2 threes in like the first 6.
Jared Vanderbilt was a minus 15 in 13 minutes tonight.
Yes, for sure. He took those threes when we were like down 14, right? And if you go look at the in-season tournament games, Jared Vanderbilt was not taking jump shots. Cam Reddish was not taking jump shots.
Dunker spot.
So like the only people that we were like going to AD every time. There was a play tonight also where AD was hurt coming up the floor and LeBron just lackadaisically throws it behind the back to him. Like just a bunch of unserious, unfocused, like game plans that make no sense. Tonight we played off Javon Carter and played off Kobe White. How many open threes did they get in the first half? And people can call Indiana a joke, whatever. That's the second best offense in the league that had 99 points with 3 minutes left. That team scores. They can absolutely get buckets. We shut their water off. New Orleans Pelicans, serious basketball team. Brandon Ingram is a guy who's a killer. Zion, I believe, wanted to at least show out as much as the talks were about him. That's a serious basketball team that like has real ideas and fortunes for the season to their belief. And we punked them in those quarters. They could not reach that level of basketball that we got to. And that's the part that frustrates me the most, that this whole week is now going to be about trades. It's going to be about what team is D'Lo on. Does Zach LaVine like want to go back to LA weather? But we just saw it. I just got a glimpse of it. 3 weeks ago, without our biggest free agency signing. People can laugh at Gabe Vincent. He was our biggest free agency signing, our most asset that we gave to a player, the MLE. Like, you're supposed to be getting healthy, and this is the output that you put out. Like, it's frustrating. And to me, last thing, this is a fork in the road moment for this team, in my opinion. You go to Minnesota tomorrow, you go to OKC on the road, then you play Boston at home. You lose all those games, Anthony, you're under 500. The amount of mental kind of fortitude you would need to come back from that while Anthony Davis is hobbled, while they're trying to get the rotation together, while you don't have a backup center. That's tough. That was the whole point of like, oh shoot, we're 15-10. We have some margin for error. We have some room to breathe. LeBron can exhale a little bit. We're the 5 seed. We're the 4 seed. We don't have to fight for the play-in. Now you're back into that spot. The Clippers have won 9 in a row. John Moran is back. I don't know if they have enough time, but whatever. That's a serious basketball team now. You're in that tier now. Go look at the standings. Are any of those teams at the top slowing down? Denver, Phoenix is getting Beal back. The Luka is playing without Kyrie. I mean, the Mavs are playing like.
But they've been no. I mean, the Suns have been winning even without one of their 3 guys this year, right? So whether they're getting Beal back or whatever, like they have been able to rip off wins.
Right. The Warriors have caught.
Who coaches that Suns team? I'm trying to remember.
Frank Vogel. But
he won a championship, right? Like I think that guy, the guy who coaches the Suns is a championship level coach.
Draymond is suspended on his own accord in a time frame that we don't know, but they've caught us. They're gonna catch us. Like Steph, the Warriors play the Wizards and the Blazers in the next 2 games. They can catch us the next 2 weeks. Like, this is the part that frustrates me. When I said this was a must-win game, people came out of my head. Raj, it's December. I remember December last year. I remember that. That was a hell of a time. Like, it gets early fast, or however that saying goes. Like, it gets late quick in the NBA.
Oh, just ask me, man. I'm 37 somehow. Like, I was just talking to Jen the other day. Every time I refer to my athleticism, it's always in the past tense. Like,
I jumped happened at a certain time.
Like, I just wake up one day. Like anytime, like, I used to run. Now I hope to be able to walk. Now I have to limp. But no, I agree completely with you, Raj, because like tonight I said Raj or Aaron asked us before we got going. I guess you and he were having that conversation before I logged on tonight. Right. About whether this game was actually a must win. And he has a very strict definition for must win, right? Your season actually can end if you don't win that game. To me, I think that's too narrow a definition because that ignores momentum. And Aaron is a very smart guy. I think a lot of times he does tend to ignore momentum a little bit. I considered this one a must win. Shit, I considered the second San Antonio game a must win, because remember the way that so they won the first one, then lost the second one, right? I have that right?
Correct.
That first one ended ugly. Remember, they were way up, and then they had to sweat out the end of the first San Antonio game. And I came into the second San Antonio game saying, you got to send a message. You have to beat the crap out of them to remind yourselves and everybody, you are a serious team. And then not only do they not like just lose, but they get mollywopped. Like San Antonio beat the shit out of them. And it was just like, the response to that was like, oh, we just got to get our guys healthy. To the Spurs, you snapped an 18-game losing streak. The response collectively to that, like the fact that nobody was like, yeah, no, that wasn't okay. That terrified me.
They followed LeBron's lead, right? And really quickly, and just not to interrupt you, but do you remember why D'Lo sat that game?
Which one?
He had a migraine. So look,
yeah.
So I'm not attacking migraines. Like I texted people like migraine, and they're like, Raj, migraines are tough. I know they're tough. I totally understand. Like I get that. Headaches are nothing to play with. 4 hours before the game to be listed out with a migraine, to me, they just showed that, and this is not attacking D'Lo's.
Well, this is the same D'Angelo Russell who last year was taking games off in the middle of that sprint to the playoffs. Just a bit of a reminder, everybody.
Sure, but again, this is not an attack on D'Lo. This is more speaking on the unseriousness that we went into that game with, right? In terms of Are you not feeling? Yeah, go ahead, sit down. Cam Reddish, yeah, little sore. Yeah, go ahead and sit down. And I'm not saying you can't do that through a regular season grind, but like to me, that showed where their head was at in that game. And that's why even Anthony, that game, no Anthony Davis, right? You started Jackson Hayes, Victor Wembanyama didn't even go off really, but just the Spurs played with some kind of juice where they were on an 18-game losing streak. Fine. You can have that. LeBron after the game said, we're not healthy, so you can't really judge us without Cam Reddish, D'Angelo Russell, and Davis. But in any case, that's fine. The Knicks one, again,
against
good
a team that had lost 18 in a row.
18. And it's not only that, forget that, actively trying to lose. They literally want
They're
to
playing
lose.
Sohan at point guard. Yeah.
Yes, their only point guard is Trey Jones. He didn't even play that night. Like he was out. So yeah, a team that's actively trying to lose, you lose to them. Fine. Knicks, again, solid team. Julius Randle thinks like we did something awful to like his family because he comes in and attacks us every single time. That's fine. This one though, I can't give them any grace on that. We gave up like 30 open shots to start this game. We didn't run back. Andre Drummond punked our team. LeBron played no defense. D'Angelo Russell was walking out there. Cam Reddish looked like 2019 Cam Reddish. I can keep going, but yeah, like it's awful night.
Well, and Arthur makes the point here in saying that the Bulls came to play, and you're right. Like the Bulls do deserve some credit, right? You look at some of their numbers here.
Sure.
DeMar DeRozan went 12 of 16 from the field for 27 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Played one of the best games he's going to play all year this year. Caruso in 28 minutes, 15 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3-point range, was a plus 15 in this one. Kobe White, who has been playing incredibly since Zach LaVine went down, 33 minutes, 7 of 18 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3-point range, 17 points, 7 boards, 5 assists. Like the Bulls did play well enough to win. They shot collectively. Thank you, D. They shot collectively 55% basically from the field, 53% from 3-point range, and 91% from the free throw line. The Bulls like completely outplayed the Lakers here. But to me, it kind of goes back to, and this is why I get kind of annoyed when people ignore momentum. When you walk into a game and you're unserious from the very get, and you give a team a bunch of wide open threes right at the beginning of the game to get their legs underneath them, to see the ball go through the rim and all of that stuff. You ask anybody who has ever played the sport before or played any sport before, right? Ask a baseball player, hey, are you more successful when the pitcher lobs a changeup right down the pipe to you at the beginning of every of every at bat? Are you a better golfer when you step up to the first tee box and you hit a 300-yard drive as your very first shot of the game, or you sink a 10-foot putt confidently right at the beginning of your round? If you're playing tennis and the other player is serving to you and they hit their second serve first to you for the entire first set, that's gonna get you some confidence. You're gonna play better that way. And for the Lakers, like with all of these starts, and this has been a thing all season, Raj, their first quarters are disastrous.
Terrible.
Like
Yeah.
their net rating in all of these first periods are just disastrous. And at some point you would hope to make some kind of adjustment. No, none has been really made other than Cam Reddish. And even there, like Cam Reddish is regressing back to the player that like, that's why he was on his way out of the league when the Lakers got him this summer, right? We're starting to see some of those habits creep back in. And it's a team that, again, and I am granting everybody, I understand that this term sucks as it pertains to professional athletes, because a lot of people see, like, essentially when somebody says entitled, that means that, like, professional athletes don't deserve to make the amounts of money that they make, and there's a lot of weight behind it, societally speaking there. But when I say that this team is entitled, it's because they're entitled. It's because that they just, they come into these games first quarter in, first quarter out. Every single game that they have played in almost this year, they have been at a disadvantage in the first quarter. We're sitting here happy if they're like down
in the
by
game.
4 in the first quarter. You know, we're high-fiving each other on these playbacks if they're like competitive after the first quarter and they don't
Yeah.
have a giant hole to dig out of. And that again screams to me a team that like you talk about like culture setters, that's supposed to be Darvin Ham's strong suit, right? Like the like buy-in, commitment, engagement, all of those things are supposed to be the things that Darvin Ham should be great at. Except every single game that they're playing in basically this year, they're starting at a low point in all of these games. And it's like, why? What's going
Yeah.
on there? You know,
Yeah.
and there's no adjustment. It takes forever to call a timeout while the other team goes on these runs. It takes forever to make any kind of adjustment coming out of those timeouts. You look at the sets that how often, Raj, have we said like have we ever said it this year where they come out of a timeout like, oof, I like that set coming out of the
Yeah.
timeout. It's
No.
always like
Yeah.
that's what you're running coming out of timeout. Like that's
Yeah.
you're going Rui step back mid-range contested jumper. Like that's what you were looking for
Yeah.
there.
And again, it's part of this thing I keep coming back to in terms of the seriousness of it. The lights are just too green for some of these players. Like again, I think Torian's a good shooter, a solid shooter when he's
Ham's
open.
light should be reddish.
That's a good one. Yes, a little bit more. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Torian like a bunch of times tonight. LeBron one kick to the corner. The guy's not even really that off him. Like he's still in his vision, and Torian just chucks up a three. Cam Reddish transition threes for what? Like that's not your game at all. And to me, like again, Cam did a lot of Euro steps tonight, just a lot of one-on-one basketball that just didn't make a lot of sense for him. But again, like just a lot of stuff that we didn't see at all when the games mattered, when it was serious, when the basketball was at its highest level of intensity. I don't expect LeBron and AD to do that every night, but like I feel like there's just a lack of seriousness that's gone on. I also think, Anthony, how long can you get away with not starting your three best players? I think that's a conversation too, right? Like I think Austin's gotten so good now that I don't know about you, but I think most people are just waiting for him to sub in, like get Austin in, and it's like 7-8 minutes. And the other thing, they're playing them together.
LeBron has taken the ball away from D'Angelo Russell because of the way that Russell has been playing lately.
Exactly. But again, if you
I don't think he would do that to Austin.
No. And the other part of it is like if you're going to like have Austin off the bench, the whole point is so that him and D'Lo can kind of separate their minutes. If they're playing together, then I don't understand the point. Austin comes in for Cam Reddish, and you have Austin, D'Lo, and Torian, which were -20, I think, net rating coming in tonight. I think it got worse as the night has gone on. Sam Quinn, who covers the league as well, was talking about how we haven't really gone to the Vando, Austin, and D'Lo unit as well. And again, like the chemistry stuff has just gone thrown out the window here so far. So a lot of concerns, a lot of things that the team has to fix. But this is a fork in the road moment. Like they got to decide where they want to go this season. And I think we'll find out a lot in these next 3 games of where their head is at. And AD might sit tomorrow, but I think this loss doesn't allow him to really. Like I think AD is going to try and battle out tomorrow, which is concerning.
So you guys could see the show. The plan for the show was the first question was, "Where's the give a bleep?" The second question was, or the same bullet point was same question, and the final bullet point for this one was, "Okay, but really," and really like that. I did that for a reason, right? Because yeah, and I find myself asking this a lot, especially over the course of my career. At this point in my life, like my career has been fairly fruitful, but early in my career when the Lakers were like tanking and all of that stuff, and I was doing this for like $25 a month working at Golfsmith to pay my bills, I kept finding myself wondering like, all right, if the Lakers don't care, why should I? You know? And it was especially painful when Jen would ask me that same question because it'd be like, it's a good question, Jen. It's an existential question that I don't really have an answer for. And now, as we continue to try to build this airplane mid-flight, I find myself asking that question a lot too, where because of what we saw from them in the in-season tournament, it makes it that much more painful when we see this unserious version of them, right? It would be one thing if it was just like, okay, yeah, they just they misdiagnosed this roster. They overcommitted to a team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year and ignored the fact that they got swept when they got there, right?
Those games were close. Those games were close. I'm gonna I'm gonna die on that hill. Those games were
it would
close.
be nice. It was a close sweep, yes.
Oh,
But
that sounds
like
bad.
but,
It's like an oxymoron. That's why I never put those two words together. You'll never hear me say that, but
yeah,
I'll just add the
it's
context
it's
after.
a moron on oxy, yes. So like so I this year though, like having seen what we saw from this team in the in-season tournament, it makes it that much more painful when coming into this game, I was concerned, right? I said when this game started, I said, or like in the first or second quarter, I said, I am really nervous that Darvin Ham is really going to focus on keeping two of Gabe, Austin, and D'Lo on the court at all times, right? And you look at the trio that led the way and the minutes allocation by position. D'Angelo Russell plays 28 minutes. Austin Reeves plays 28 minutes. Gabe Vincent plays 14. And it like that is what it looks like when you are trying to keep, two or one and a half of those guys on the court at all times. Max Christie loses his spot in the rotation. Christian Wood and Jackson Hayes lose their spots in the rotation. Jared Vanderbilt still doesn't know where he sits in the rotation. But right when he gets here, Gabe Vincent feels the red light to be able to just fire away from three whenever he feels like it. And if I saw more consistently the Lakers like honing their best pitch, right? It's the difference between getting various looks reps and hardening the steel, or really focusing on the placement of the 106-mile-an-hour fastball when you need to throw it. But like even when it comes time to win these games, the Lakers aren't going to that lineup, right? Or to that identity. When it comes time to like suffocate teams and get your game on back to where it should be, the Lakers are still trying to execute in the half court with this 5-out bullshit. And guess what, man? It's not working. Like 5-out has been a disaster this year. They played their 28th game this year. So you're a third of the way through the season. You're more than a third of the way through the season. And you're still going with this 5-out approach that like all it does in games that you're trying to get reps for, all it does is give bad reps. Like it gives you a bad rep and it gives you bad reps to the guys that like you have Cam Reddish shooting 14 threes or 14 shots. You have Taurean Prince yesterday or a couple days ago in a game that he was struggling to shoot. He missed 8 straight open 3-pointers. Hey, Taurean, why do you think you're open? Hey, Darvin, why do you think he's so open? And it's because like, when those guys get those looks, it's because it isn't Anthony Davis getting post touches. It isn't LeBron James getting the ball in the short roll. It isn't LeBron James getting the ball going downhill against a compromised defense. But like when it comes time to set the game into order and get some momentum going in your favor here, the Lakers, instead of going back to the 106-mile-an-hour fastball, are like, well, what if we messed around with a knuckleball? Like, what if we messed around with a screwball, even though nobody has really reliably thrown a screwball since like 1973? Like, what if we try to do this thing here that doesn't at all fit what like made us successful just a couple like last week? This was it's maddening to see the Lakers so desperately cling to this identity when this other identity is so clearly more productive.
Yeah, right. I just thought about getting hit with a 106-mile-per-hour fastball. Sounds absolutely painful. That sounds.
Oh man, when I was in 8th grade, and there was this family, the Toloas, who if anybody grew up in Southern California, you knew a football family called the Toloas. Rick Toloa Sr. was a guy who played linebacker for the Raiders back in like the 80s or something like that, maybe the 70s, 80s. He had an oldest son, Rick Toloa, who played minor league baseball for the Dodgers. I think got some kind of a scholarship to play quarterback for like Fresno State or something like that. Didn't have the
Mhm.
good enough grades to really go anywhere in college football. He had a younger son named Ryan who had like tree trunks for legs, and Ryan and Rick. So Rick, when I was in 8th grade, was a freshman in high school, and he would come down every so often to throw BP or to like work on his pitching. Both Rick and Ryan threw crazy hard, but you never knew where the fastball was going. So I was sitting
Okay.
there, I was taking BP and I was hitting against Rick one time, and Rick was throwing like 80 as a freshman. He was throwing like 85, 87 or so. And it was like hard, but like, you just never knew where the ball was going. So it was like really hard to confidently step to the plate there. He plants one in my side. And I swear I had like the stitches bruised in, like etched into my rib cage.
Yeah.
And he throws another one, comes way inside. And he goes, you know what? I'm gonna go work away from batters so that I'm not putting batters at risk, right? So he goes over there. He throws with a catcher like off to the side, and his brother steps in and he goes, "All right, here we go. Very first pitch, plants one." Now Ryan threw like 82, 83, and that one hits the same exact spot. So it's just like, like bruise on bruise basically there. And that was like that's like 20,
Ugh.
30 miles an hour slower than, Hanley Ramirez famously had a Joe Kelly pitch break his ribs in the middle of a playoff series. So yeah, that's what and the Lakers are choosing like not to throw those pitches. The Lakers are like, you know what? Let's throw with our offhand. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my point. And again, just on the reason why, and I was gonna compare it to why does Anthony Davis's jump shooting upset so many people? It's because we've seen it work, like at least in some stretch of time. And I keep going back to this that it's too pretty not to go in. Maybe that's just the like part of his something's wrong with his footwork or just his mental when he shoots them. But to me, it's just too pretty not to go in. But like again, I don't like to go back to this. You explain like the sweep that happened against Denver. This game, I think like the total series was decided by 10 points, but that's neither here and there. What we learned through that run is that the LeBron
Let it go,
Austin team.
Raj.
Yeah, I
Let
know.
that
I
let,
just
let that hurt
I
out of your
I
heart.
just hate the conversation that surrounds it. But in any case, like the thing that we know that works is the Austin LeBron 2-man game. That's a legit action that we can spam. And for some reason against the Knicks, we just didn't do it. No Austin LeBron screen game to end the game. None of that. I think LeBron took like a break rhythm 3, and then we got bad offense later on. And then we saw that, hey, Rui, LeBron, and AD is kind of massive. Like that's kind of a huge lineup. That's a lot of size, a lot of versatility. You have a lot of offensive options, and we've completely gone away from that. And I just have a hard time believing, Anthony, that this summer the Lakers went and gave Rui $17 million a year. They went and gave Jared Vanderbilt 15 to 13, whatever the
Yeah,
number
whatever it
is.
was.
And we're like, now Torian's gonna get 38 minutes a game. I just can't believe Max Christie. Like people laugh at my summer league takes, but like I feel like that was a guy that they were absolutely wanting to flourish, right? That's a guy that they went to in the summer and was like, hey, show off here, get your reps in because you're gonna get real minutes in the big boy squad.
Mm-hmm.
They featured him more than JHS in the summer, their first round pick, who I think should be playing South Bay. Jalen, please go play in the South Bay. Because I've been to 6 games, you haven't played any of them. But like, but yeah, like I just highly doubt that was a
I've
big
watched
part of
him
this
play,
team.
man. I don't think you're missing anything.
I want to see him play. I think that's a great place for him to develop. But
Honestly, dude,
yeah, like
like the blind hope is so much more optimistic than actually watching that dude play basketball. I don't think he's
well,
good.
he's
I think he's
19.
THT with like a little bit more like muscle tone
Oh man, I'm I want to see it. I'm gonna give him some
and like
time.
worse of a
Shockingly,
jumper. Yeah.
yeah, he needs a jump shot to exist in the league. But yeah, like I just doubt that was the like route that we were supposed to take. Rui getting hurt in strange, mysterious ways, I'm sure is a part of it. People saying the mask, and that's stuff that I can't quantify, so I can't really speak on. He's hitting 3, so the mask worked there, but it doesn't work when he's hitting layups. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So like I like. And I don't think we feature him enough as well. Rui's just been like a cog in the system when I feel like we paid him as a featured offensive player. You don't give a guy $17 million a year who you don't think can, as a wing, like score, who you don't think can at least score that much in a game. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's really confusing to me. The Torian played more than AD and LeBron against the Knicks. He played more than Vando and Rui combined in that game. A lot of the wing minutes are shocking. Gabe Vincent came back tonight and was, I guess, told, shoot whatever you feel like shooting. Like I just no and if you and this was like I called Gabe Vincent a scoring guard and people destroyed me on Twitter. What else is he? Like that's go watch Miami run actions for him. Miami was very purposeful with how they run their sets for him. He got a lot of handoffs, a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of off-ball screens with Bam Adebayo, leveraging the screener, leveraging the guy who's screening for him to get him open looks. He's not a guy you give the ball at the top of the key and say cook. No, like Gabe Vincent's gonna make some terrible food if you just put him at the top and say cook. Like he's a guy you have to at least get the ingredients right, set the pan up. But I'm starting to cook a little more, by the way, Anthony, which is it's been really fun. Cooking is
Yeah.
kind of like
Are
hooping.
you a better
Like,
cook? Are you a better chef than Gabe? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure about that. I'm sure Gabe could cook some, but cooking's like hooping. You know, you start off with like the layups with like some like
Gabe
easy like
Vincent looks
eggs.
like that guy in like a rom-com who like the main character, like your protagonist in it, is
Yeah.
competing like against that guy, right? And
Okay.
and the protagonist find out like, oh come on, that guy can cook too. Like Gabe Vincent has this like chiseled, like perfectly like sculptured face, like just manicured beard and all of that stuff. He looks
Yeah.
like the bad guy in a rom-com. He's too good
Guy that
looking.
like. So I
Yeah.
haven't watched too many rom-coms, but like I guess the guy that like steals the girl or something. Like you're
Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
for the girl and steals it. Okay.
Yeah. He looks like he plays basketball on like, you know, like on one of the teams on the CW. Like he looks like he's
Okay.
like the captain of a basketball team on some show on the CW.
Like the coolest jock in the
Yeah,
school.
yeah. Who's also kind of an asshole. Like he's super duper nice to everybody, but then
Mhm.
towards the protagonist, like says just enough snide stuff to keep that guy like way down, like 7 rows below where he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Gabe Vincent, I'll give him some grace too. 15 minutes tonight, first game back, minutes restriction. That last shot I thought was one of those I'm coming out. But he has to be better as well. We saw a Gabe Austin Torian
He's
lineup
shooting
tonight.
7% from 3-point range this year.
2 for 16. So I don't know what that is. That's
Right,
around
the
that
division.
percentage.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like I think he's another guy that really comes into the rotation and causes a lot of questions. But I don't like Max out of the rotation. I don't like 40.
13%.
Yeah, 13%. Nice. He's getting up there. He's not 13% shooter. Like there's a positive regression coming for Gabe. Hopefully it
Yeah, he's
comes
gonna make 2
sooner than later.
threes in a game.
He tied his season high tonight. So it's only way to go up. Only direction to go is up for Gabe Vincent.
Uh-huh. All right. I think that's enough ranting and raving about this one and about these Lakers right now. I again, I wouldn't feel so bad right now if, like you said, Raj, we hadn't seen the optimized version or at least a preview of the optimized version of this team, right? That blitzed pick and roll. Like the Lakers just played the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is like 5'7", you know? If not once did the Lakers blitz him in a pick and roll, you know? Instead, the guy that they chose to blitz was Luka Doncic, who can just throw the ball over the top of a blitz, right?
Yeah.
In this one, they're playing against Kobe White, who's like, 6 foot or so. Has been absolutely on fire from 3-point range while the Bulls have been on their run, and they're in drop coverage. Not once did they blitz him with a couple of tall wings. The Lakers would go to Rui at the 5, and they're still in drop coverage even while Rui is at the 5. You would think you would want to at least switch everything and get out there and try to force turnovers so that you don't have to worry about Rui and Vando as your primary rebounders. Nope, don't see any of that either. And again, it's just like, I made the point when I was talking to Aaron about like the notion of a micro and a macro adjustment. And I think when Ham is given time, he is good at like macro adjustments, or at least better at macro adjustments than he is at micro in-game adjustments, where I haven't seen him make one yet, to be completely honest. In a game, I have not seen him call a timeout and come out with a different look. It's just inspirational speech after inspirational speech, and go out there and try hard and hand straight back into the pockets. When was the last time the Lakers challenged a call? Like the Lakers there was like a clear goaltend, or there was a goaltend that clearly wasn't a goaltend. You had AD and LeBron screaming at the coach, challenge it, challenge. Those are actual points that are on the board. Nope, nothing whatsoever. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think the Lakers have challenged a call in the last like week or two. And
Yeah.
again, you talk about like tones, right? You talk about like the tone that like LeBron sets through his approach to the regular season. You talk about like the tone that AD sets, where he isn't really a vocal leader in the classic way that that leaders typically like vocalize. And like from the Lakers perspective, if I was on this Lakers team and D'Angelo Russell just gets to continue to start while he's playing some of the worst basketball I have ever seen from a good basketball player, right? I know that
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell is a good basketball player. Even by NBA standards, I think he is a good, at least regular season basketball player. He is playing abysmal, and there is no like come to Jesus moment with this guy where it's like, all right, man, it is now 6, 7 games of this in December. This is still how you're going to do this, where you're going out there and getting cardio. Fine, get cardio in the hallway on the bike back there, and let me give those minutes to somebody who actually gives a bleep. Like nothing. And if I'm somebody on this Lakers roster and I see there's no accountability there in terms of minutes for D'Angelo Russell, and Torian Prince can continue to play as many minutes as Anthony Davis and LeBron James, as he is very inconsistent on offense and pretty consistently whatever on defense. Like, if I am on this team and I see no accountability there coming from the coach, then at some point I'm going to be like, well, then why? Why should
Yeah.
I try?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's basically the vibe that we're seeing when night in, night out in the first quarters here. You're seeing a team just basically say, like, you see a starting group that knows that they aren't losing their spots, and you see a bench that comes in and it's like, yeah, there's nothing that we can do to actually get some minutes from those guys who keep losing in that first quarter.
Right. And like Darvin, I think he has even spoken on this, and as you hear it in the broadcast all the time. Like, I think the timeout thing is tough to. I think he should call timeouts faster. But he's obviously going the Phil Jackson route, right? In terms of let your guys play through it. Try to let them go. And like, I just
Tell you what,
think,
Darvin, once you win 13 rings, I will be okay with this approach timeout wise.
well, not just that, right? This team is just not good enough, Anthony, to me to flip a switch on and off. And they've
Yeah.
obviously, after the tournament, they flipped it off. And getting that back up is tough. I don't like the habits that were built, especially in that Dallas game. I think we were down like 12 in the first quarter to a Dallas team without Kyrie Irving. With Luka was the only real creator out there. Tim Hardaway Jr. cooking us. I've hated the kind of habits that have built. And like, Laker fans get a like bad rap. There's some extreme ones, right, that really go after and do really unnecessary and terrible things. But they'll get behind you in a way. And like, do you remember, I'm gonna take you back 2 weeks when D'Lo told Bruce Brown go sit down with 2 fouls. Everyone was on D'Angelo Russell's side, right? They're like, yeah, Bruce Brown like talking too much shit. This D'Angelo Russell, I do not recognize. This, like, there's a difference to me from playing bad and playing disengaged. Like, there's a level of that I think we saw this with Russ as well at the end of like his tenure with the Lakers. Like, there's a level of, yeah, Russ is was a player that was obviously in decline, but there was a level of disengagement that happened. Like, the Clippers, he went to the Clippers and obviously he turned that back on. There was a level of like, oh shoot, like, wow, Russ is a defensive monster now and absolutely killing it in his minutes for them. I think there's a level of disengagement in that scene from D'Lo, which again, I just don't understand in terms of, there's nothing that's changed these last 2 weeks, in my opinion. Like, there's 2 or 3 losses that have come between, but like, the team should have been still rolling. Like, my main like takeaway is just the team has turned off, like they've not only, I've said this before, they haven't just taken the foot off the pedal, they've like gotten out the car and they've just let it go down the freeway. That's what I'm watching. These first quarters are terrible. You can't just spot teams 18 to 20 point leads. Teams in the league are too good. Chicago was on fire. DeRozan shot 10 of 14 from mid-range twos, and they shot 52% from three. That's a math game you're just not going to win. And the Lakers had a lot to do with that. They gave them open three after open three. They gave the Knicks open threes. Jalen Brunson cooked us. They didn't trap them. No defensive game plan. No purposeful like decisions or defensive concepts that they went into this. So they deserve to lose. It's just, I think this is the time. These next 2 games are pivotal to me, and they'll decide which way our season goes, because we can't just wait till January 15th. You don't have that type of time. The West is too good. There's too many teams. There's like 3 teams in the league that are giveaway wins, and we lost to one of them. So like there's no easy wins left in the league.
All right. So before we get out of here, I would be remiss, given today's reports, essentially from the Athletic, that indicate that the Lakers and the Bulls are talking. I said this on All Access Lakers, right? Like every team basically is in Orlando for the G League showcase that's going on out there. And the Lakers are they have a very active front office in terms of communication around the league, as I've been told. And this is the first night that I find myself sitting back and saying, like, okay, maybe I should make the case for a Zach LaVine trade. And this is the extent of the case that I can make for a Zach LaVine trade. You have Rui Hachimura, who is playing 16 minutes in this one. Let's go with I'm gonna find his stats here. On the season, he is averaging 23. No, that seems high. But I guess he's averaging 24 minutes a game so far this season. Which is still I think low. I think they are paying him to be a 30 million or a 30 minute a night guy, like close to a 30 minute a night guy. That's why he got that extension. He's barely figuring into these games. You have D'Angelo Russell playing extremely uninspiring basketball. He knows he's not going to be a Laker at the end of the year. So if you combine D'Lo and Austin, and again, I think there's a better return that you can kind of pursue for these 2 contracts. But if you basically combine D'Lo and Austin, and I don't think you would have to send out any draft capital here because there is just no market for Zach LaVine. And if essentially you're turning 2 guys who, like, one guy is aggressively counterproductive and another guy who is just apparently doesn't figure into Darvin Ham's image of a team, and you can turn that into a guy who does provide some skills that the Lakers do need, the ability to pierce a defense, outside shooting, maybe some give a bleep if he is now in a situation that trades for him. He's a clutch guy. We have seen the impact that clutch has had on, like, Cam Reddish, right? Getting with LeBron, getting with AD, and getting those guys to stay on you, to focus on those things. Maybe that's the only case that I can really make that like makes any sense to me in trading for him. Raj, I know you don't like trade stuff or whatever, but it's getting loud, right?
For sure.
Like the type of basketball that D'Angelo Russell is playing and the amount of basketball that Rui Hachimura isn't playing is starting to get pretty loud, especially when you're looking at a guy in Zach LaVine who has all-star capable talent, is an insanely exciting player, does have some things, at least offensively, that the Lakers are lacking. Are you starting to entertain some of the stuff a little bit?
Entertain. So it's funny, after every Lakers loss, there's like my DMs get filled with people sending me, trade machine requests. One guy does like 3-team with like 10 players involved, and I have to like
don't send
zoom.
3-team. Don't send 3. If you're putting together a 3-teamer, it's just not gonna happen.
No, but it's like 3-teamer with like 10 players involved. I'm like, bro, this is not happening. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, this is not even a serious, trade request. But no, obviously it's loud, and I think that's something you can't ignore. I also think if your last name's not James, or if it's not Davis, that's part of the conversation. That's part of the equation. D'Angelo Russell is an extremely bright dude who understands the game and understands basketball business. He knows that's part of the plan. I think that all the Lakers do. Zach LaVine stuff, I mean, I get it. LA guy, star with 2 quotes around them. Like, I totally get it. He's on a 5-year, $215 million deal. Like, you are investing in Zach LaVine basically as your franchise guy. And then we just went through, Anthony, all the problems. You just went through your that you want more wings to play, that you want a wing heavy team, you want size, you want athleticism, you want defense. Zach LaVine doesn't cover up for any of those. He's going to improve your offense for sure.
None of those things.
None of those things.
Yeah.
I think he's an okay rebounder when he wants to be, but Zach LaVine's on a super max deal. He's not coming here to box out guys. He's not coming here to chase over the top of screens and give back pressure. He's coming to be a ball dominant scoring guard, which I think can help this team for sure. I just think it gives you a lot of the same limitations. And this is why I'm so upset, because like the 15 and 10 was so important, because I wanted to learn. Like if we went through this season, Anthony, like if we were, let's say we were the 3rd seed, 4th seed, and you figure out, hey, Rui Hachimura just doesn't fit into the equation. D'Angelo Russell doesn't fit into the equation. We found this out. We played, we were healthy. We learned like, hey, these guys just don't fit, and we're able to upgrade and build, right? The word I used all summer was build. That's what continuity means. That's what it all is part. A Zach LaVine trade was essentially like tear down, and you'd start from a whole new core. You'd start from a whole new set. You'd pretty much just throw last season away, kind of, and you'd still have Austin Reeves, but that's where like the Zach LaVine stuff is cutting the cord on what last season was, and being like, no, like that team at that run was actually false. That was actually extremely flawed. We actually didn't believe it enough. We don't think that this core could have won with nice role player pieces around it. And let's go get Zach LaVine, which I understand it. I would get it from an asset standpoint. D'Lo's a free agent this summer, but I hope that's not the route we go. I hope we are able to build with this team and not tear it down and replace it. But I get it. It's gonna get loud. It's gonna get louder. I just don't think anything's happening till mid-February, which it's December 20th. Like, how are we already here? How are we already here? How are we in the what can we get for D'Angelo Russell? Zach LaVine sitting out for injury purposes. Let's make a deal. Like, I was hoping that would at least give me till end of January, but here we are in mid-December speaking about it. So, but I get it.
All right.
I
So
totally understand it.
here's a couple things that I feel need to be mentioned as far as the Zach LaVine trade goes. Rui and Russell don't get you there by themselves. You would need to add more salary on top of it, not just to get to Zach LaVine's number that you have to match, but also to stay under the hard cap. So you have that going on.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers also, if you trade for Zach LaVine and you keep Gabe Vincent on the roster, now you have Gabe Vincent, Zach LaVine, and Austin Reeves. And what's to stop Darvin from playing too much of those combinations, which is now a current problem? There's also the fact that to this point in the season, and I need to mention this because look, I don't like to consider myself a reporter. I'm not. I think journalism is kind of broken, and I don't really want anything to do with it as it currently exists right now. But the Lakers have maintained steadily that Zach LaVine is not the type of player that they would be interested in, and he is not the player on the Bulls that they have their most interest in. In order, their interest in Bulls are Alex Caruso, bit of a gap, DeMar DeRozan, big gap, Zach LaVine, for all of the reasons that I outlined, right? It is so much money coming back to a guy who has not committed to doing the kinds of things that you need to do, making the amount of money that he does to win basketball games, right? It's not just defensively, but offensively, he is so talented physically that he should be a better passer. Like, he gets into gaps and stuff like that, and he doesn't do anything with the gaps that he forces as a facilitator. That makes you less efficient offensively. The last thing here on this front is that because the Lakers can't do anything with either D'Angelo Russell or Rui Hachimura until mid-January, like, to a certain extent, it makes it that much more important for Darvin Ham to really optimize what he has between now and then. And that's the part that really frustrates me here from a basketball standpoint. I know you guys know how I feel about like team building, and I am in love with the trade machine and all of that stuff, but I am still a basketball guy first and foremost. I remember I did a podcast with Pete earlier this summer. The first thing he said to me was like, man, you were talking about like windows with Gabe Vincent versus Dennis Schroeder. I didn't know you had that in you. And I'm like, dude, I was a basketball coach before I started doing this. I love the sport. And with all of the stuff, like I do have to relay information as I get it, and that is a big part of what I do. But like most importantly here, and this is why Raj and I brought the fire in the way that we did in this episode, is because like the basketball sucks right now. This is not a good basketball product. And it is a basketball product that we have seen be good at one point this year
Yeah.
and at various points this year. It's a basketball product that was good last year. Rui Hachimura was a big part of that good basketball product last year, and he's been basically an afterthought all year this year. We still, like, I could go through I would have to do a whole bunch of scrolling to actually find it, but to find the 4-man lineup of Austin, Rui, LeBron, and AD, like, there still isn't enough of a sample size to draw any conclusions from what that group looks like together, because the focus this year has been on trying to do anything whatsoever to keep Cam Reddish going or to keep Taurean Prince on the court. And so, like, you look at that lineup, the lineup information that we have here. Whoop, that's a 4-player lineup. I am going to, try to find this team that has Hachimura on it, and it just doesn't. All right, so Rui, I'm already scrolling down. It still hasn't played 20 minutes together yet. I'm looking at it. LeBron, Davis, Hachimura, Reddish, they've played 26 minutes. LeBron is unbelievable. This is like the core, like the core lineup of the group that you played last year was with LeBron, AD, Hachimura, and Reeves, and nope. It's insane. So yeah, Raj just had his power go out, which is pretty perfect for tonight, and the type of situation that the Lakers have put us in. And we've been here talking for an hour and 15 minutes, so I'm about to wrap it up. But I think, to me, the point that I hope you guys take from this show and from the season to this point, seeing as the Lakers have watched themselves play great basketball and moved away from the identity that led to that great basketball, is until they return to that great basketball, why should anybody care? What's the point? What are we supposed to like? There's no conclusions to draw from it. You're choosing to be a lesser team. You're choosing to play a brand of basketball that makes you worse. So long as that continues, why should any of us like really dedicate ourselves to analyzing this team that continues to choose to be a worse version of themselves? And until that changes, I'm still going to continue to be here, and we have some cool announcements about the show moving forward, because we're focused on becoming a better show, and we're focused on continuing to grow. But I wish we could say the same thing about the Lakers. So that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you very much to Raj, who hopped on to talk us through this. I enjoyed Fired Up Raj. That was great. I want more of that. Thank you, everybody, for tuned in live. This was one of our biggest shows ever. And you guys stuck with us through the entirety of this episode. So thank you guys a ton for that. Aaron and I are going to talk tomorrow, again, live in the lounge in the afternoon somewhere or another. So check in for that as well. And then we will wrap things up on the other side of the Minnesota Timberwolves game to send you into the holiday weekend. If you haven't already, check out, for a preview of tomorrow's game, check out the conversation I had with John Krasinski, not of The Office, but of The Athletic. That was a really fun conversation that I don't think has gotten enough attention here on YouTube or in the pod feed. So check out that as well. And until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin, saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.